The interstellar relief station never truly slept. Its lights stayed bright, its halls stayed loud, and its air always carried the mixed smells of metal, medicine, and 100 different species. Dr. Michael Hayes liked it that way. Noise meant life. Order meant safety. And safety was what he had spent his long career protecting. That was why the alarm froze him in place. It was not the gentle chime used for supply arrivals or injured crews. It was sharp and urgent, echoing through the veterinary wing. Red symbols flashed across the wall displays, symbols Michael had only seen in classified training files. Predator. Live transport. Michael's heart skipped a beat. His hands tightened around his data pad as staff around him fell silent. Conversations died mid-sentence. Tails stiffened. Feathers puffed. Even the station's security drones shifted position, weapons sliding into ready mode. A human predator? Someone whispered behind him. Michael swallowed. Earth was known across the coalition for many things: creativity, stubbornness, strange humor, but also for its death world biology. Their predators were legends in medical schools. Fast, strong, ruthless, built to chase, tear, and kill. And now one was here. Security officers moved fast, clearing the main corridor. Doors sealed. Transparent blast panels slid into place. Michael watched through the reinforced glass as a transport unit rolled forward, its containment field glowing a dull blue. The shape inside was small, but that did not comfort him. He knew better than to judge Earth life by size. Why would they bring it here? Michael muttered. No one answered. The station's public feed switched to a silent warning. Non-essential staff were ordered to remain in place. Medical teams stood by. Tranquilizers were loaded. Emergency protocols stacked one over another, each one assuming the worst. Michael felt a chill along his spine. As a wildlife veterinarian, he had treated creatures that could tear metal and spit acid. But Earth predators were different. They were adaptive. Clever. They bonded. They learned. The transport stopped. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the containment field dimmed. Michael leaned forward, eyes wide, breath shallow. He expected a snarl. A strike. A sudden blur of motion. Instead, a human stepped into view. James Carter walked out like this was a normal delivery. He wore a simple uniform, sleeves rolled up, expression calm. His posture was relaxed, almost lazy, as if the armed guards and sealed doors meant nothing to him. And in his arms, Michael blinked. James was carrying the predator. It was small, covered in soft-looking fur. Its head rested against James's chest, eyes half closed. A wide mouth opened slowly, revealing small white teeth. The creature stretched, letting out a long, quiet yawn. Several alien staff gasped. Michael's mind raced. A deception? A juvenile? A lure? The predator shifted, curling closer to James. One paw, yes, a paw, rested against the human's shoulder. Its tail moved once, slow and lazy. This is impossible, Michael whispered. James glanced up and smiled, friendly and open. Hey, doctor. Where do you want us? Michael forced himself to step forward. His legs felt stiff, but training pushed him on. That is the Earth predator? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. James looked down at the creature in his arms. Oh, yeah. The creature made a small sound, somewhere between a sigh and a rumble. Its eyes opened just enough to look around, then closed again. Michael's scanner screamed confusion. Aggression levels were low. Heart rate was slow. No visible threat posture. Security protocols state full containment, Michael said. It should not be exposed. James chuckled softly. Trust me, document. He's fine. As if on cue, the predator's head slipped lower, resting fully against James's arm. A thin string of drool escaped its mouth. The corridor stayed silent. Alien staff stared. Some leaned back, others leaned forward, unsure which reaction made sense. A security drone adjusted its aim, then paused, its threat algorithms clearly struggling. Michael felt his fear mix with something else. Curiosity. That creature, Michael said carefully, is listed as a Class 7 predator. James raised an eyebrow. That seems high. Michael activated a small scanner and aimed it from behind the glass. The readings made no sense. Muscle density was moderate. Bite force was dangerous, yes, but no more than several animals already approved for transport. What does it eat? Michael asked. James thought for a moment. Kibble. Chicken. Sometimes my dinner if I'm not watching him. The predator twitched at the word dinner, tail moving again. Michael's ears flattened. You allow it near your food? James laughed quietly. Near me, yeah. The The predator's eyes opened again, this time fully. They were large and dark, focused only on James. When James shifted his grip, the creature adjusted with him, perfectly balanced, perfectly calm. That was when Michael understood what truly frightened him. The predator trusted the human. Not obedience. Not fear. Trust. On every world Michael had studied, predators dominated through threat, control, force. But this one rested peacefully in the arms of a different species, completely at ease. James took a step closer to the glass. We good to come in? He gets cranky if he misses his nap. The creature let out a soft noise, almost a complaint. Michael lowered his scanner slowly. His fear had not vanished, but it had changed shape. This was not a monster brought in chains. This was something else. Proceed, Michael said at last, his voice quiet. But, carefully. James nodded and stepped forward. The doors slid open. Nothing attacked. Nothing broke. The predator only yawned again, eyes closing, unaware that an entire station had just rewritten its understanding of fear. Dr. Michael Hayes did not relax after the doors closed. If anything, his tension grew stronger. The predator was now inside the medical wing, and that meant responsibility. His responsibility. Full containment protocols remain active, Michael said firmly. His voice echoed slightly in the wide room. Energy field at maximum. No physical contact. Across the room, Emily Ross and Lauren Price stood beside James Carter. Both wore human medical uniforms, both looked calm, and both shared the same tired expression. They had seen this reaction before. Emily pressed her lips together, holding back a smile. Lauren crossed her arms and sighed softly. Doctor, Emily said carefully, that might be a bit much. Michael flicked an ear in irritation. You are aware of this creature's classification? Lauren nodded. Very aware. The predator made a loud sound. It was sharp and high, cutting through the room. Several alien staff jumped. One dropped a scanner. Security drones snapped their weapons forward, tracking the movement. The creature wriggled in James's arms, paws pushing against his chest. It opened its mouth wide and let out another noise, longer this time. It was not a growl. It was not a roar. It was a whine. Michael stared. Is it distressed? James shifted his grip. Yeah. He doesn't like the field. As if to prove the point, the predator kicked its hind legs and let out a louder whine. Its tail thumped against James's arm. The sound echoed, setting off more warning icons on the displays. Threat level rising. Vocalization detected. Unpredictable behavior. Alien observers murmured among themselves. Some backed away. Others leaned forward, eyes wide. Containment integrity is holding, one technician reported. Michael's hearts pounded. Lower the field by 5%, he ordered. No more. The field dimmed slightly. The predator paused. Its ears twitched. It looked around, confused, then fixed its gaze on James again. The whining returned, softer but more constant. James exhaled slowly. He wants this off. That is not an option, Michael said. The predator responded by letting out the loudest whine yet. Emily rubbed her forehead. Here we go. James raised his free hand and reached behind the creature's ears. He scratched gently, slow and steady. The effect was immediate. The predator froze mid-whine. Its mouth closed. Its eyes widened, then softened. Its tail started moving again, slower this time. Michael's scanner spiked. Heart rate stabilizing, a technician said, confused. James kept scratching. There we go. That's it. The creature leaned into his hand, pressing its head back. A deep, rumbling sound came from its chest. Michael stiffened. That sound? He's happy, Lauren said quickly. Michael stared. That is a threat vibration. Emily shook her head. No, doctor. That's purring. The word meant nothing to Michael. He watched as the predator melted against the human, muscles relaxing, eyes half closing. The rumbling grew steadier, filling the room with a low, gentle sound. Threat level dropped. Aggression minimal. Subject calm. The displays updated faster than Michael could read. That is not possible, Michael said quietly. The predator shifted again, then let out a small huff. Its body went heavy in James's arms, full weight resting against him. James adjusted without effort, clearly used to this. Oh, James said softly. That's the shutdown sound. Shut down? Michael repeated. The predator's eyes closed completely. His breathing slowed. Within seconds it was asleep. Silence spread through the room. Security drones lowered their weapons a fraction, systems unsure what to do with a sleeping threat. Alien staff stared in disbelief. A few blinked several times as if hoping the image would change. Emily finally let out a short laugh. She clapped a hand over her mouth. Lauren turned away, shoulders shaking. Michael noticed. "You find this amusing?" he asked. Lauren took a breath and faced him again. "Sorry, Doctor. We're not laughing at you. We're just used to this." Michael gestured at the sleeping predator. "That creature triggered half my emergency protocols." Emily nodded. "Yeah, that happens." Michael looked at the containment field, still glowing around them. It should be tearing at the barriers. Testing weaknesses. Displaying dominance. James smiled down at the predator. "He's tired." The creature twitched in its sleep, one paw curling. Its tail flicked once, then went still. Michael zoomed his scanner in closer. Brain activity showed rest patterns. No alertness. No planning. No threat. "Doctor," one of the alien observers said hesitantly, "may I ask a question?" Michael nodded. "Is it normal for predators to sleep during evaluation?" Michael opened his mouth, then closed it. "I do not know," he admitted. Emily stepped closer to the glass. "On Earth?" "Yeah. All the time." Michael watched the humans carefully now. They stood relaxed, backs turned to the predator, attention drifting to monitors and notes. No fear. No tension. "You trust it," Michael said. James looked up. "With my life." That answer sent a ripple of discomfort through the room. Michael folded his arms behind his back. "Your species continues to surprise us." Lauren smiled. "We hear that a lot." The containment field flickered as systems recalculated. Threat levels fell to the lowest possible setting without manual override. Michael exhaled slowly. "Very well. Maintain current status." James nodded. "Cool. He'll sleep for a bit." As if responding to the words, the predator let out a soft snort and rolled slightly, still asleep. Michael stared at it, fear slowly giving way to something unfamiliar. Understanding. This was not panic made flesh. This was reality. And it was far stranger than he had expected. Dr. Michael Hayes stood very still as the predator slept inside the containment field. He did not trust calm. In his experience, calm often came before violence. His training told him that Earth creatures could hide danger behind silence. He would not allow himself to be fooled. "We will run a stress response scan," he said at last. A few alien technicians hesitated. One glanced at the sleeping creature, then at James Carter. James raised an eyebrow. "You sure about that?" Michael nodded. "It is a standard test. Non-invasive." James looked down at the predator. "He's not gonna like it." "That is the purpose of the test," Michael replied. The scan began with a low hum. Soft lights passed over the creature's body, mapping muscle tension, neural activity, and emotional response. The predator stirred, ears twitching. Its breathing changed, becoming uneven. Threat monitors flickered. Michael leaned closer to the screen, ready for spikes in aggression. They did not come. Instead, the data crawled in slowly, refusing to match any known predator pattern. Aggression, low. Fight response, minimal. Flight response, moderate. Dependency markers, high. Michael frowned. "Run it again." The lights swept over the creature a second time. This time the predator woke fully. Its eyes opened wide, unfocused at first. It lifted its head and looked around. The first thing it did was search for James. Its head turned sharply. Its body tensed. A soft sound escaped its throat, not a growl, but something thin and uneasy. James stepped closer to the field. "Hey, I'm here." The creature's eyes locked onto him. Its body relaxed just a little, but it still made the sound, pacing in a small circle inside the field. Michael watched closely. Increased stress input by 10%. The technicians obeyed. The predator stopped pacing and sat down suddenly. It did not bare its teeth. It did not charge. Instead, it lifted its head and cried out. The sound was loud and sharp. Several alien staff flinched. "That is a distress call," Michael said, confused. "Not an attack signal." The predator pressed itself against the edge of the field, pawing at the air between it and James. Its tail was low, tucked close to its body. James's jaw tightened. "Okay, that's enough." "Doctor," Jessica Moore said, stepping forward. She was another human medical officer, quiet until now. "Look at the attachment readings." Michael did. The numbers made his stomach twist. Comfort-seeking behavior, extreme. Bond focus, single subject. Separation anxiety, high. "This is not predator behavior," Michael muttered. The creature turned in a tight circle, then sat again, eyes never leaving James. It ignored the scanners, ignored the room, ignored everyone else. Jessica held up a small container of food. "Let me try something." Michael hesitated, then nodded. Jessica stepped closer to the field and opened the container. The smell spread quickly. The predator's ears lifted. Its nose twitched. For a moment, Michael felt relief. A food response. Instinct. Jessica slid the container through a feeding slot. "Easy." The predator looked at the food. Then it looked back at James. It did not move. Jessica tried again, pushing the container closer. The predator leaned away, letting out a soft, unhappy sound. It sat down and turned its body slightly, refusing the offer. Michael's eyes widened. "It is rejecting food." James crossed his arms. "Told you." Michael turned to him. "That creature has not eaten since arrival." James nodded. "He won't if I'm not there." "That is irrational," Michael said. Jessica shook her head. "No. It's emotional." The predator whined softly and lay down, facing James, eyes wide and watchful. It placed its head on its paws and stayed there, unmoving. Michael lowered the stress input. The scan continued and the data grew clearer. Aggression remained low. Violence threshold high. Attachment behavior dominant. Michael felt something crack inside his certainty. "This creature," he said slowly, "derives safety from a specific individual." James nodded. "Me," Jessica added, "and probably anyone he trusts. But mostly James." Michael stared at the predator. "Then its danger is not in what it does, but in what it feels." The creature let out a quiet sound, almost a sigh, and closed its eyes halfway. "Not sleep. Waiting." Michael ended the scan. The lights faded. The hum stopped. Almost instantly, the predator stood and walked toward the edge of the field again, sitting as close to James as possible. Its tail moved once, slow and hopeful. Michael exhaled. This test was meant to reveal threat. "And?" Jessica asked gently. Michael looked at the data one last time. It revealed attachment. James smiled faintly. "Yeah, that's him." Michael straightened his posture, his voice quieter now. "This is not a weapon. It is not a monster." The predator let out a small, pleased sound as if it understood. Jessica smiled. "See? More attached than dangerous." Michael nodded slowly. For the first time since the alarms had sounded, he did not feel afraid. He felt humbled. The room stayed quiet after the scan ended. Screens still glowed with numbers that made no sense to the alien staff. Dr. Michael Hayes stood with his hands behind his back, staring at the predator sitting calmly inside the containment field. It was not growling. It was not testing the barrier. It was simply watching James Carter, waiting. Michael finally spoke. "You have given us data, Mr. Carter. Now give us truth." James looked around the room. The fear was still there, but it was weaker now, mixed with confusion. He nodded once. "All right," James said. "I think it's time." He stepped closer to the field. The creature's tail began to move faster. It stood, pressing close, making a soft sound of excitement. "This," James said, "is not a hunting predator." Michael's ears lifted. "Explain." James took a breath. "On Earth, we call him a companion animal. He was bred to live with humans. To bond with us. To protect sometimes, sure, but mostly to stay close." The room stirred. "Bred?" An alien technician repeated. "Yes," James said. "For thousands of years." Michael felt a chill. "You shaped a predator." James nodded. "We shaped a friend." The creature sat down again, clearly pleased by the attention. It scratched at the field lightly, then stopped, waiting. "On Earth," James continued, "he's considered harmless. Loud. Messy. Emotional. But not dangerous." Michael looked at the teeth. "Those jaws suggest otherwise." James smiled. "Yeah, he looks scary. That's part of it." A few alien staff exchanged uneasy looks. "He's also spoiled," James added. The word did not translate well. Michael tilted his head. "Define." James chuckled. "He sleeps on soft beds. Eats better than some humans. Gets upset if I leave the room." As if to prove the point, the creature whined softly when James took half a step back. Lauren and Emily both smiled. Michael felt his worldview bend. David Clark stepped forward then, holding a small data tablet. "Doctor, may I show something?" Michael nodded slowly. David activated the screen. The first image appeared. A group of small humans, children, sat on the floor of a bright room. Creatures just like the one in containment ran around them. Some jumped. Some rolled over. One licked a child's face. Michael's breath caught. The next clip showed another creature chasing a small ball, then crashing into a wall and bouncing back up, unharmed and excited. Another showed one wearing a small cloth outfit, tail wagging wildly. "This is common," David said. "Very common." Michael watched in silence. The predator inside the field tilted its head, ears lifting as sounds came from the tablet. When it heard a familiar noise, a high happy bark, it let out a short sound of its own and wagged its tail. Several alien staff stepped back in shock. "It recognizes them," one whispered. "Yes," David said. "They recognize us too." The footage continued. A creature slept beside a human child. Another stood between a human and a stranger, barking but not attacking. Another limped with an injured leg while a human carried it gently. Michael's threat models shattered one by one. "These are not beasts of war," Michael said quietly. "No," James agreed. "They're family." The word hit harder than any data. Michael turned to the predator in the field. It sat patiently, eyes bright, tail moving slow and steady. Not a killer. Not a weapon. A companion. "You brought this creature into space," Michael said, knowing how others would see it. James nodded. "Yeah, because he's mine." Silence followed. Then Michael made a choice. "Lower the containment field," he said. Technicians froze. "Doctor?" Slowly, Michael added. The field dimmed. The creature tensed for a moment, then stepped forward carefully. When nothing stopped it, it rushed to James, pressing its body against his legs, tail whipping with joy. No attack came. Only trust. Alien staff watched, stunned, as the human knelt and hugged the so-called predator. The creature licked his face without shame. Threat models updated. Then erased. Nothing in their records could explain a species that turned predators into companions, and called them harmless. Michael lowered his head. "Earth," he said softly, "is far more dangerous than we ever imagined. Not because of its animals, but because of its hearts." Dr. Michael Hayes sat alone in his office long after the room had emptied. The station outside returned to its usual noise, but his thoughts stayed fixed on the data in front of him. Lines of text scrolled across the screen as he edited records that had not been questioned for decades. Predator classification, revised. Threat assessment, incorrect. Behavioral profile, social, bonded, non-hostile. Michael paused more than once, his fingers hovering over the controls. He had never rewritten a file like this before. He felt embarrassment, yes, but stronger than that was fascination. His training had failed him, not because it was wrong, but because it was incomplete. Across the station, alerts quietly updated. Departments received new guidance. Security lowered default threat responses for Earth companion species. Medical staff adjusted intake rules. No announcements were made. No apologies were spoken aloud. The changes happened the way humans often acted, calmly, without drama. Michael stood and walked to the observation window overlooking the main corridor. James Carter was there, speaking softly to the creature now curled in his arms. The predator was asleep again, head resting against James's shoulder, body loose and trusting. Its tail twitched once, then went still. Alien staff stepped aside as James passed. No one reached for weapons. No one backed away. Some stared. Some watched quietly, trying to understand what they had feared only hours ago. Michael felt something tighten in his chest. He activated a recorder and spoke slowly, choosing each word with care. "Human threat assessment remains misunderstood," he said. "Not because of their strength, but because of their comfort with danger." He watched as James paused to adjust the creature, careful not to wake it. The predator made a small sound, pressed closer and relaxed again. Michael remembered the alarms. The fear. The way his heart had raced. All for this. A being that slept best when held. Michael ended the recording and leaned against the glass. He had studied predators his entire life. He knew their patterns, their instincts, their limits. But humans had rewritten the rules without force or pride. They had done it by living beside danger every day and calling it family. That, Michael realized, was what terrified the galaxy. Not claws. Not teeth. Not violence. But trust. James reached the exit lift and turned slightly, noticing Michael watching. He gave a small nod, respectful and calm, as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Michael returned the nod. The lift doors closed. The human and the sleeping creature disappeared from view. Michael stood there a long time after. Earth's greatest danger was not its animals. It was how calmly humans lived beside them.